I'd always kind of had envisioned a restaurant, not having any chefing experience, not having any restaurant experience. I just always felt like chicken is kind of the easiest thing because it's either cooked or not cooked. How can I make it to represent us? We actually did a food tasting for about 50 people. We got some really decent reviews, and then I got the contract from Disney. So I was like, all right, we'll put this on hold. Literally, we got furloughed that Friday. That Monday, we're pushing forward on the concept.
Well, I love the San Gabriel Valley.
Welcome to the MySGV podcast.
So I grew up here and I still live in Alhambra.
I was raised in between Temple City and Alhambra.
Eventually resided in South San Gabriel.
Our mission is to capture and share the stories of the people of the San Gabriel Valley.
Monterey Park has pretty much been my whole life.
Well, I'm proud to say that I was born and raised in the San Gabriel Valley.
We believe our diversity is what makes the SGV great. And no matter where you are from, in the San Gabriel Valley, you will feel welcome. All right, SGVers, welcome back to another episode of the MySGV podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new here, we bring you the stories of the people of the San Gabriel Valley. And if you are a returning listener, thank you so very much for spending your time with us. I really do appreciate it. Oh, Marcel, I met you, but I didn't meet you when I first went to your restaurant. Right. You were there. I was aware that you were the owner, but you looked really engaged at the time. So I really wanted to speak to you then, but I sort of, let you do your own thing. What I remember most about your restaurant was how well the staff welcomed me as a new customer. That really stood out.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I'm looking at, what I want, and they were so excited to tell me everything as much as they could.
Yeah.
Right. And that made me feel so welcome. They understand what it was like to sort of not know, what direction I wanted to go in. But right. I'm telling that more so because I always know that that's a reflection of the owners.
Yeah. 100%.
So you must have trained your staff well in that, huh?
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things that my wife and I really focused on. And kind of why we started, because we kind of really felt like the food space was really becoming more transactional. And so when we started the endeavor, it was really an opportunity to kind of bring back the personalization, the connection with the guest. Even in our fast casual environment, we don't want to lose that. And so, I don't have a training program saying you need to say this. I think the staff just really sees how we interact with guests. And I think it's just within our culture at the restaurant that, guest experience is the number one priority. The food is definitely important, but that's not why people come back.
Sure.
And so that's always kind of the priority for us. So
yeah, absolutely. The reason why people come back is almost never the food. The food has to be there though. But I love what you said there, that the restaurant or the food experience has become very transactional, and it has everywhere. So I'm excited to get into your story, Marcel. But before that, thank you to Paris Baguette for sponsoring the delicious pastries each and every week for our guests. If you haven't already, go check them out on Las Tunas. I know there's Paris Baguettes everywhere, but this is the one on Las Tunas in the city of San Gabriel. And go say hi to Jason and Joanna for us. He was born in Bellflower, grew up between Baldwin Park and Hacienda Heights while wrestling with identity as a first-generation Mexican-American. He stayed busy with sports and took the long road after high school through Mount Sac and a string of odd jobs before landing in sales. A training program flipped his mindset. Keep your word, stay passionate, and treat failure like tuition. That carried him into corporate recruiting roles at major companies until the pandemic furlough pushed him and his wife into cooking for friends. That grew into Smorgasburg, LA, catering, and eventually a brick-and-mortar in East Pasadena. Please welcome to the show co-founder of Saucy Chick Indie Mex Eatery, Marcel Rene Michel. Marcel, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Russell. I appreciate being here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have this conversation.
Yeah.
I can't say your restaurant without thinking of the food and then starting to salivate about it.
Right. Yeah.
Because it is delicious and it is very, very unique. Yeah. And I want to get into that. But before that, what is your connection to the San Gabriel Valley?
Well, I grew up in San Gabriel Valley. I grew up in Hacienda Heights, West Covina, Baldwin Park area in the beginning. But when I was 5, we moved to Hacienda Heights. And so I went to public school there, Grazita Elementary, Mesa Robles Junior High. And then I went to private school in Rosemead, Don Bosco Tech.
Okay.
And so my friends, I mean, everything I knew kind of growing up was just all in the San Gabriel Valley. I kind of really just saw the San Gabriel Valley as one big city. So that was kind of like my stomping ground wherever we were at. So yeah, it's a area that is near and dear to me. And it was one of the things that, when Rhea and I started our restaurant concept, was to find a brick and mortar in the San Gabriel Valley. And primarily on Rosemead Boulevard, just because that's the main artery of the San Gabriel Valley, I feel. And so being able to find a space there where we're at was kind of a dream come true. So
awesome.
Yeah.
I have heard of Rosemead being the north-south artery and
Yeah.
Valley maybe being the east-west one. So so take me back to growing up in Hacienda Heights. What was your childhood like there?
Yeah, I had an amazing childhood. The friends I had, very multicultural, so just being exposed to different cultures throughout the friends that are at school, but also my father was very open to other culture as far as cuisine, and so we really got introduced to other types of food other than what my mom would make for us or what grandma would make for us growing up. And so that kind of nurtured our curiosity for different types of cuisines. But I think ultimately, I have an older brother, I have a younger brother and sister, and we kind of were growing up at a time where our neighborhood, we literally had like 50 kids in our neighborhood, ranging from 6 years old all the way to high school age, and we would all play in the cul-de-sac. Whatever it was. So it was an amazing childhood experience. So I really do miss it because I know it's not the same for our son now. It was very different, and so it's kind of missing that aspect of kind of building those relationships with friends and so forth. So
Sure. The days where you like knock on your friend's door or they knock on your door and they're like, can you come out and play?
Basically, yeah. You just come back home when it gets dark, and you just kind of out and about, riding bikes, playing over the line, hide and seek, playing video games. At that time, it was just Atari or Coleco or, some of the older first gen gaming systems. But yeah.
Oh, it's such a different time, huh? It sounds like that world for you was a good memory for you.
Oh yeah. I definitely had nothing but positive. Obviously, you have your growing stages and trying to figure out who you are as a kid and kind of figure out your place and so I kind of really approached it. It was very friendly with everybody. So kind of every group, between the jocks and the academics and all that. And so I just was friends with everybody. So I kind of took that approach and kind of made things easier. So,
what is your ethnic background?
I'm Mexican.
Do you know where your family's
yeah.
from?
So my dad's family is from Colima, which is a small state on the west side, and amazing and is still very connected to our family there. We go there almost every year, whether it's a quinceañera, birthday party, wedding, what have you. We just went there back in November, so it is a space where we really reconnect with our family in Mexico. My mom's family is from Guadalajara and TJ. We've always kind of been exposed to both sides, but I think, for the most part, we kind of really aligned or kind of spent more time with my parents' side, my father's side of the family. So
you said that you had, or I said rather from your bio, that you had maybe struggled with a little bit with identity as a Mexican American, having several on the show before. That you're punished if you're too Mexican, and then you're punished if you're not enough Mexican. So, what was that experience for you?
It was very difficult because, my parents are both Spanish speakers, but are very educated, so they took on to speaking English very easily. But the thing is that they didn't want us to come in and have to deal with any outside racism or pressures. So they didn't speak to us in Spanish at home. So literally, like when I was 5 years old, all I spoke was Spanish because my grandma helped take care of us and things like that. And then literally, like, you know, once school started, we learned how to speak English, and to the point where they didn't want us to have an accent, so to speak.
How did you know that? They told you that?
Yeah.
As a
So
young kid.
my dad came when he was 15, around that, I think like his freshman, sophomore year. And at that time, it was at the racial tension at that time for him was really, like, it was very hostile.
Was this like the Zoot Suit riots?
Yeah, kind of in that
Okay.
era. And so he would just tell us stories about fights almost every day, you know, between African Americans, Latinos, even amongst other Latinos, like, and it's just the fight to belong, right? And so I think mentally he just wanted us to kind of be able to assimilate a lot easier. And so obviously there's some, you know, it's a double-edged sword, right? My Spanish isn't as fluent and as strong as I would like it to be. I don't have a thick accent as some of my uncles or relatives do, and so a lot of it kind of comes with the territory because of my last name. You know, I'm not a Garcia or Rodriguez or anything like that, where people don't know my ethnicity unless I tell them, you know, I'm pretty fair skin. It's kind of one of those things where it opens the door to the racism without being known, right? And so early in my career, you know, I did a lot of sales. And so when I bring in clients to come in, they're like, oh, you didn't sound like you're Mexican kind of thing. And it's just like, who would ever say that, right? And so it's just kind of dealing with those little things. You learn to swallow it. You know, it's out there. It's unfortunate, but definitely, you know, obviously if there's a line that gets crossed, you know, to stand up for yourself. But it's kind of always been that thing just to kind of survive in LA. So
Did you grow up around a lot of Mexicans who spoke fluently and were like first,
my
second
family.
generation? I mean, like at school.
At school, no. It was in Hacienda Heights. This is when they built the Buddhist temple. So we were literally like pretty close by to it. So our school was predominantly Caucasian, Asian, a handful of Latinos, and African Americans. And then, so as far as like a heavy Latino, you know, group, it wasn't. But a lot of times, my Latino friends were also first generation that also just spoke English, right? So, you know, I mean, my aunts and uncles, I still speak to them in Spanish or Spanglish, right? We figure out how to connect or communicate that way. So,
You said your grandma raised you from like maybe until the age of 5.
well, she was just always very involved, and she didn't speak any English at all. So, you figure out a way how to communicate with her. So.
Do you have a fond memory of her?
She would always make us breakfast. So anytime she would stay over, she would make us crepes, and I mean, just loaded. I mean, it was just amazing crepes, and it's just literally like right off the pan, so they're nice and hot.
Like sweet crepes or savory?
Sweet. Yeah.
Okay.
And so, and it was just one of those things. And then she loved lucha libre. And
What's that?
Wrestling.
Okay.
Mexican wrestling. And so in the mornings we would watch WWE. You know, back then it was WWF. We would wrestle
that
with
trips
her.
me out. Like you're watching wrestling with your grandma.
No, she was, and
Okay.
you know, at that time you don't think about it, but you know, we're what, 10 years old, and she's probably like in her 60s, you know, so it's like, you know, she's wrestling and kind of manhandling us,
Really?
right? So it's like, yeah,
Really?
she was really involved, and yeah, she's deeply missed. So
Wow.
yeah,
That sounds like so much fun.
yeah, she was amazing, much to the chagrin of my mom, because she would always protect us from, you know, discipline and stuff. So
Yeah, it sounds like she was a good influence in your life.
yeah, for sure.
Was Baldwin Park before Hacienda Heights, or did you?
Yeah.
Before Hacienda Heights.
So my parents kind of bounced around in like San Gabriel, Baldwin Park. It was kind of right on the borderline of West Covina and Baldwin Park. My parents ended up buying a home in Hacienda Heights.
You described your route as a long route, going through Mount Sac and then into sales. What was it about that route that you felt was long?
Well, so my career was a recruiter, right? And so I kind of know the importance of education as it stems from, building your career. There's no one way or the right way of doing it. It's a journey, right? But I do know that setting up yourself with a strong foundation through education, through 4-year college is very important, right? And so I kind of didn't follow that path, unfortunately, and it was just more difficult. I took jobs that I didn't like to do just because I needed to pay my bills and survive, and so it brings up a lot because my son is in his first year of college, and so he was kind of reluctant to go into a 4-year college, and I just had to be very honest about that experience for me, and so he understood it, and he appreciates that he's in that position to take advantage of, and he's doing really well. So, but yeah, so one of those things is that it's a longer path, it's a longer struggle. There's definitely a lot of opportunities. I've had a lot of successes, and I have had a lot of failures. So. But kind of in that creed that I follow, it's just picking yourself up and getting back and trying and taking the swing, and you just never know until you do it, right? So
I want to talk about some of those failures, but before that, I had a friend who was big in poker, right? And I had just gotten with my wife at the time, and he said something to me because I had all failed relationships, right? He said something to me about this one now, and I don't know where I got this. Like, it just came to me. I said, because he's a poker player, I said,
yeah.
Do you learn more from your wins or your losses?
Yeah.
and he just froze, and he looked at me, and he was like, okay.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It comes down to, how do you define success? If it's money that you're chasing, that's a kind of for me. I understand it when I was younger, but now that I'm older and seeing like what success is, and being with family, being with, building something of value is more important than chasing the money. Like I truly feel like the money will be there if you follow your passion, if you connect, if you stay connected with your family, and it just makes that much more enjoyable. And I kind of lost that during the first kind of phase of Saucy Chick. Is just that we were just grinding so hard, and we just kind of stayed focused just because we didn't know what we were doing, and so a lot of that sacrifice and time was put into the restaurant that a lot of our relationships suffered. And so I'm kind of in the making amends tour in these past couple of years, just because it's and they acknowledge like what we're up to. Like it is a pretty big task, but I know there's ways we could have done things differently or better, in a way that we could have handled or juggled things a little bit better. So that's kind of been my goal moving forward. So
Marcel, take me to one of those failures that you learned from. Like what was the failure, and what did you get from it?
A lot of it from a business side of things is, I was in real estate before the market crashed in 2008, not staying connected to my mentors in a way which would have helped me not go into the failure that I had, and so I had multiple properties, we had projects, I had employees and so forth, and it just within the year everything just vanished. And so I kind of felt like if I would have really kind of stayed connected and understand the market, just because it was my first time being in that market as a business owner, not really understanding the history, and didn't save as much as I should have saved. Kind of that kind of learnings. It really put me in a pinch, and kind of left me scarred a little bit, just because a lot happened. My marriage ended. My first marriage ended. So it was kind of like a culmination of what could go wrong, went wrong, kind of thing. And so yeah, so just been very fortunate that I kept a positive mindset. And as you mentioned in the introduction, that company Profit Techniques early on really kind of made me take on responsibility in a way that didn't make me a victim. So I never felt like depressed or just very disconnected in my life. So went through things personally, but I think ultimately, once I worked things out, got my mind kind of back on track, I was able to kind of get myself in a better position. And so
you mentioned if you had stayed close with your mentors.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? Like, I sort of get it, but I don't want to assume.
So in business, and for me personally, I've always kind of surrounded myself with older individuals, and just because I've always kind of felt like they have the experience, and a lot of, like, you can learn a lot of things through your textbook, but nothing teaches you more than actual going through it.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's always been a recession. It's cyclical. And so, being able to kind of understand like the process that they had gone through a little bit better, I think I could have positioned myself to kind of come out of things a lot better and not lose as much as I lost during that time.
And then going through a divorce, like that's tough on its own, just on its
For sure.
own. That was that sales? Or, you were doing real estate and doing all that. And then were you a recruiter after that?
Yeah. So once I kind of was done with real estate, I really kind of refocused and kind of really wanted to connect to something that I was more passionate. When I was in real estate, it was just about making money, and I kind of felt empty. And so I just was really, okay, what can I do that can generate the income that I'm used to making in real estate, but having some purpose behind it. And so early in my career, I was introduced to that company, Profit Techniques, and I ended up running their recruiting department for that program. And so recruiting for me and building relationships was pretty easy. Kind of my next phase in life, I was like, okay, and understanding the industry, I kind of just went into it. And I took a 100% commission job to learn the industry, so to understand it, and I did okay. I wouldn't say like I killed it, but like I did well enough to want to continue it.
Is that like it's not a headhunter? You're not a headhunter, or you are a headhunter?
So in the beginning, there's various I guess levels of recruiting, but when you're kind of like an outside agency, you have a sales department that finds contracts with companies that are looking for people, and then you have the recruiting side, which then builds a network of candidates for those companies. Some agencies, you run both, like a full desk. You find your contracts and you find your people. In the beginning, that's what I did, and so I kind of built that. I did have a little bit of an edge because during college and during that time, I used to work in telemarketing rooms. And so
like cold calling?
Cold calling.
Oh man.
And so did not enjoy it, but it is, it did pay the bills, and, but you're trained with techniques and just understanding the psychological aspect of building relationships on the phone immediately, and being able to connect, and for someone to trust you to, give you information, right? And so because of that, I was very fortunate to have that kind of mindset already coming into that space. So being able to, and I kind of feel like I'm a friendly guy. So, and I did get a lot of comments of like, from customers that were just like, oh, you sound like my nephew or my godson or what have you. And so it was just kind of being that friendly approach, and and being able to build that trust quickly.
Were you fulfilled there?
I was, yeah. I really fell in love with recruiting. But again, it's an industry that is during the downturns. It's companies stop hiring, stop paying agencies. So the impact is real. So you can have some amazing months and you can have some really not so great months. And so the instability of that kind of environment just wasn't ideal. And so when I met Rhea, my wife, she's had been with Disney, so she had very stable and kind of career growth, and here I'm coming kind of like a Wild West kind of guy. Just loved the kind of the craziness of that, but I was like, okay, well, if I'm gonna commit to this relationship, like I need to have stability. And so the biggest thing for me was, okay, what would be stable in the world of recruiting? And so I got into corporate recruiting. And so I was able to kind of parlay that experience that I had through the agency through a food manufacturing company. And because it is hard to break into new sectors within your career because they want prior experience, right? They need to have, X amount of years of prior corporate recruiting experience or whatever the field is. And so I for the longest time, like I always kind of getting the door closed on me because of that. And so I was just like, okay, what can I do? Because of the agency that I worked for was primarily in the food and beverage world, I found a company that was looking for contract recruiters for their food and beverage company. And so I was like, well, I know I can just showcase that I have experience within that food industry. They can take the risk of that. And plus it was a 3-month contract. So it wasn't really that big, but I knew if once I get my foot in the door, I would kill it and they would have no other option but to hire me full time. And that's what ended up happening. Killed it, saved the company millions of dollars through, agency fees and so forth. And I was there for just under 4 years. With that, so I kind of knew like it wasn't going to be my permanent place, but I knew that wasn't going to be my permanent place, but I just needed to get as many years or months under my belt as a corporate recruiter, so that the next opportunity I have the 3 years of experience going into it. And so that's kind of how it parlayed, and I was able to take advantage of that. And I had opportunities to work with Red Bull, Hasbro, and then ultimately at Disney. And so for me to go from agency to working at Disney at the studios was kind of like a pinnacle, right? It's like I never really dreamed that, but it was just like, okay, I did something right. I was focused and so forth. So
Is that where you met your wife?
No, we met online.
Okay.
So yeah.
So tell me about that.
So yeah, I mean, I think coming off of my divorce, and very similar timeline with my wife. She was also previously married, and we're both kind of divorcees, and so I think we just at that time online dating just kind of made things a little bit easier from an introductory standpoint. We just kind of had lunch, and I think what was really great is that because we both had experienced divorce in our previous relationships, we weren't like looking to get into a relationship. So we really built a friendship, and so through that, I think it just kind of really felt like we really connected on a level. And yeah, it was just an amazing opportunity to kind of meet someone that is as passionate and as for me, I think my focus was to find someone who really is caring. She's one of the most caring people that I know, and I'm very fortunate that she's my wife.
I think I hear in there that maybe you didn't have a caring partner before.
It's one of those things where it's like, I commit to things. My loyalty will always be there. So whether there's friction, issues, because I made that commitment, we'll figure it out. But obviously in relationships, there's two people involved, and so if both people don't have that same mindset, you can't force someone to want to love you, kind of thing. So
sure, yeah. At this point in your story, you're doing well, career is going well. Is COVID what happens next?
Yeah, so kind of like a year into working at Disney, COVID ended up hitting, and we both got furloughed from our jobs at Disney.
Is she your wife now, or is she?
Yeah, no, we got married in 2015. So
okay.
The furlough it was in 2020. So
you guys had been married for a while.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
wow. Okay.
So we started dating in 2012, and then got married in 2015.
And okay, that's a lot longer than I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I mean, it just last September it was our 10-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
And it was just like, I don't know if it's just because we've been kind of in the world of our restaurant that it just went by so quickly that it was just like, oh wow, it's been 10 years. Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And especially kind of both coming from our previous relationships where it's just like, okay, it didn't hurt, so.
And for those who don't know, your wife's ethnic background.
She's Indian.
She's Indian.
Yeah. So
that's the mix there with the food.
That is the genesis of why we are an indie Mex eatery. So she is Indian. Her family does have a unique story in that she was actually born in Montreal in Canada. Her parents are from Uganda. So I believe she's like third generation from Uganda, her family.
Wow.
And so when the foreigners were kicked out of Uganda, most of her family went to London, and then her father unfortunately wasn't able to go to London or England. So he got refugee status in Canada. And so that's how.
I see.
Yeah.
Food isn't really a part of this story yet here. And was food big for both of you, like during this time when you're dating and getting married?
It just kind of, for me, it stems from my father as far as eating different types of foods, right? My mom is an amazing cook. We joke about it because she doesn't cook as much as obviously when we were growing up, but it was just very delicious food. And it's hard for me to go to a Mexican restaurant because I always just kind of equate to like that enchilada. My mom makes it better, or always kind of in that mode. But as far as exploring other cultures, other cuisines, I definitely have to give kudos to my dad because he really kind of opened our eyes to that. So, there was like a Thai restaurant that we'd always go to, Tokyo Lobby. It was pretty big in Hacienda Heights. And then, in that area, it was starting to develop more predominantly Asian. So, we had all the Chinese, all the Japanese, Korean. And so being able to do that, having exposure to that was awesome.
Is your wife also adventurous in trying foods?
Yeah, so I will say she does have some limitations. So she is allergic to crab, and she doesn't like rice. So it was kind of like one of those things where I don't know, I can't go to the places I like because either they're predominantly rice heavy, or it's seafood kind of scenario kind of thing. So it's always a little bit of a challenge. Ultimately, I kind of, what is it that you want to eat kind of mode.
So like sushi is out of it.
She actually does eat sushi.
Oh, she'll eat sushi.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we do have our spot. We found our sushi spot that's actually pretty close to us. And we go there kind of like as our date night when we do that. So
okay, so you get furloughed from COVID, and now you're like everyone else in America. You're just sitting at home thinking of ideas. And how do you guys come up with what you do now?
before I started the contract with Disney, I was kind of in between contracts. And so during that time, it was roughly about like 2 months. And so I don't like just sitting at home, just sending emails, applying to positions and so forth. So I'd always kind of had envisioned a restaurant or a concept. And so not having any chefing experience, not having any restaurant experience, I just always felt like chicken is kind of the easiest thing from a customer standpoint, because it's either cooked or not cooked, right? And so I was just like, how can I make it to represent us? So before I took on the contract with Disney, we actually did a food tasting for about 50 people within our group. And we had kind of a general idea of what our menu was going to be. And we hired a chef that kind of helped us, scale the recipes, kind of help us, just learn how to cook really at that level. And so we did that. We got some really decent reviews, and then I got the contract from Disney. So I was like, all right, we'll put this on hold. I'll do Disney for however long as we can, and then if we have the bandwidth to pursue the concept, we'll get back to it. And so I started with Disney. I loved it. It's a great opportunity. And
does it have all the perks that we imagined it does?
It does. Yes. And I was working on the studio. So I was still kind of new of seeing kind of celebrities. So you do get kind of, oh my gosh, Javier Bardem, or Anthony Anderson, or, any other actors that are kind of walking around the sound stages. And so, you got to maintain your control, so to speak. But it was just a great opportunity, great experience. And so when we got furloughed, literally we got furloughed that Friday. That Monday, we're pushing forward on the concept to kind of talk about like how clueless we were in the beginning. We're like, okay, on Monday we'll go to Costco. We'll buy all the chickens that we need. I had bought some rinky-dink rotisserie oven. I literally we're doing it out of our house, so it was kind of like mayhem. Like it just was not an ideal scenario, but at that time during COVID, Costco only allowed you one chicken.
Oh no.
per customer. So we're just like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? Like, just totally kills our idea. And so I was just always under the impression that to work with a meat purveyor, like you need to buy 10,000 pounds of meat, And so my wife had befriended or had known an ex-coworker. They had met for lunch at some time like a year ago, and she had kind of told her about a plan of this is what we're kind of up to. And she had shared, say, oh, I know someone that is a chef and that does catering and has your restaurant kind of thing. We're like, oh, cool. And so I was like, call your friend, see if she can help us. And what I had envisioned was like, hey, let me piggyback on your next order.
Yeah.
Just put in, I need 10 chickens, whole chickens, and I'll pay you cash or whatever. And so she actually taught us or kind of explained to us how it actually works. And so we could actually pick up the food, no minimums, and so if I just wanted one steak, I can pick up one steak at that place, right? And so we made that, she made that introduction, reached out to them, they helped us out, we were able to get the chickens, and so it kind of was the beginning process of getting it started. So yeah. We knew, we love rotisserie chicken. The only rotisserie chicken we were really exposed to was Costco, grocery store, Peruvian or Mediterranean. And I think it was just very, when we had Peruvian, we were kind of like, oh, wow, this is really good. Just the flavors, the spices and so forth. And so we're like, okay, well, how can we create something that represents us and be something unique that no one can really compare it to anything? because of that. And so cochinita pibil is my favorite dish. I had it catered at my wedding. It's something that I grew up eating. So it was just something that I was like, okay, if we can get that marinade. And I had seen pollo pibil on like more of upscale restaurants, but never in a fast casual setting. And so I was like, okay, well, let's figure out how to make that marinade. And the challenge that it has been that you're exposing the marinade to open fire. You're going to get, because there is a lot of sugar in that marinade through the citrus and orange juice and so forth. So we had to figure that out, and we did figure that out. And then for the Indian side of our marinade is the jira chicken, which is an actual curry that Ria's father used to make for her growing up. And so it's been kind of a mission for my wife to really kind of, I don't want to say re-educate, but just to expose to people that there's more types of cuisine within India because it's so big that it kind of gives a different perspective. So we do get people that ask us for chicken tikka, and we'll say we don't have that, we don't carry that. Not to say we don't like it. When we go to Indian restaurants, I order that. It's delicious. Butter chicken's amazing, but we really wanted to emphasize on really giving a different perspective of other types of Indian cuisine. So
thanks for sharing that origin story. Marcel, we asked each guest to bring an item with them.
Yep.
What did you bring with you today?
So it's actually a picture of my family.
Okay, can I see?
Yeah.
Wow, oh my gosh.
And
there's like 30 people there?
At least. And that's just a small group of them. And it was, we went there to celebrate my father's mom who had passed away.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's awesome.
So it's an amazing group, and it's one of the things that I really appreciate from my parents, that we stayed connected with her family in Mexico. Of our cousins, we're kind of like the only ones that really made, or my dad really made an effort to be there. And so literally, like, for the summers growing up, it didn't happen every year, but it was almost like every 2 years they would drop us off during the summer, and we would live with my aunt and uncle, milking cows, selling the milk. It just, for kids from LA to this small pueblito called Coquimatlan, it was a different, like a culture shock. And I kind of feel bad for my relatives there because they really spent majority of their time of like, how do we keep these kids busy? And so one of the funny stories that we kind of had like our own apartment in a way within the house. We would find scorpions. And so, we'd have like these little cases, and my aunt was cleaning the room one day and she's knocked one of the cases over and saw that there was like 3 scorpions coming out of it and totally screaming and all that stuff. And so it was, I kind of feel bad because we were kind of not mischievous, but we were kids, and exploring in an environment where it's like you can walk into the jungle and, not come back very easily. Right. And so, but yeah, it's kind of those things that, I got exposed to a lot of things that most LA kids don't typically get exposed to, and,
Sure.
and let alone my family. So it was really cool.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
Just the impact of seeing that is quite powerful.
Yeah.
Because, that doesn't happen by mistake. It doesn't happen without a lot of work.
Yeah.
And sadly, not a lot of families can have a picture like that.
And it is effort, right? It's always there if you want it to be, and I think a lot of times, and I'll just speak for myself, it's just, we get so in the mode of trying to survive that you forget. And so it's one of those things where, you got to make it a priority, and, we can have those moments more often. I know growing up as a family, we used to, every Sunday as a bigger family, we would get together, play basketball, go bike riding, things like that. And then just slowly as things everyone gets into their rhythm of of life, it stops, and so lately it's been kind of really front of mind for me. So I've been really, focused on trying to recapture that because it is important. Community within your family, like it's not a guarantee, and it can go away just as easy. And so it is making that effort,
Yeah, for sure. Thanks so much for sharing that. I hope you have like a huge picture of that, like printed and framed on a wall or something.
We are working on a couple things. That was kind of one of the smaller pictures. We just had a cousin that just got married. So there's some more pictures coming out. Yeah, there's plenty of pictures that we get
Awesome.
from that. So yeah.
Marcel, we're going to take a quick break here, but when we come back, I want to learn more about sausage and like Smorgasburg and all that. So
For sure.
We'll be right back.
Sometimes, even the best of us can slip up. That's why the law offices of Scott Wormuth are here to pick you back up again.
And while they strive to get you the biggest compensation possible, oh my gosh,
Their main concern is your health and recovery. They work closely with doctors and insurance companies to make sure you get the proper medical treatment.
initial consultations are free, so give them a call.
At the law offices of Scott Wormuth, we're with you all the way.
I'm Scott Wormuth. We've been fighting for your rights for more than 40 years.
All right, we're back with Marcel. Before the break, or actually during the break, we were talking about food, and I was like salivating because I'm starving. But before we get back into your story, though, when we come back from the break, we like to ask questions from the deck of cards called Icebreakers, and they're just like a fun way for us to get to know each other and for the audience too. So I'm going to be answering as well. So Marcel, what is something you think everyone should do at least once in their lives?
I would say getting a passport and traveling. The way I like to travel is not doing the touristy things. I really like to get to know a family, and stay kind of how the locals live, and so kind of really have an appreciation, for that. Yeah, I'm a pretty simple guy. I don't need we've done it, obviously, taking our son to experience different things, and but I think for the most part is getting an opportunity to travel. Unfortunately for me, I haven't traveled as much as I would like, just through limitations through the years. But I think at least once you got to experience.
Sure.
That.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Which reminds me, my passport's expiring. I need to renew it. So
yeah.
I would say spend time around old people, and I mean 70s, 80s. The older, the better.
Yeah.
And then just listen to their stories. I didn't have the fortune of knowing any of my grandparents, but I did get to spend time with some elderly people.
Yeah.
And I wish I could have more of those experiences. So if you're watching, let us know what's something you think everyone should do just once in their lives. So it was another name when I first came across you guys, and maybe it was different at Smorgasburg. I don't remember. I think that's when you guys were first on my radar.
Yeah.
And when I saw it, I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
So tell me about it. How did you guys get into Smorgasburg?
That actually, again, it's through relationships. So I know, are you familiar with Moose Craft Barbecue?
I am. I've never been, but
okay.
I want to go.
So strongly recommend it. Their food is amazing.
Yes.
But not only that, they're amazing people. Michelle and Andrew, but we ended up feeding them our food. They loved our food. When they had been at Smorgasburg prior to it being closed for the pandemic, and so while they're during that pause time, when they were about to reopen, she told the director, "Hey, you guys need to try this food out." And so that's one person, and then that person that helped us find chicken. Her name is Pace Webb, and she owns Daddy's Chicken Shack. She also had been a vendor at Smorgasburg prior to them, closing for the pandemic. She also independently, unbeknownst to us, had mentioned to the director, about us, and so he reached out to us asking for a tasting. I had no idea. We had no idea. We've never done a pop-up. We've no clue of what that would look like.
You're still selling out of your home.
We're selling it, and we weren't selling. We were actually making food for our friends and family.
Okay.
So it was legit by like donation. Just we're doing about like 10 meals a day, and then I would personally make deliveries from Santa Clarita all the way down to San Juan Capistrano.
What?
So
what?
Obviously I wouldn't do it in one day, but like on Wednesday it's Santa Clarita. So all the people that we knew in Santa Clarita, we'd drop off food.
Is there a delivery fee?
No.
No. Oh my gosh.
But this is the thing, like we weren't doing it for the money.
Sure, but still, like that's like a 2-hour round trip.
Well, that's why it wasn't like I didn't go to Santa Clarita then. Like each day had its area. So,
Okay.
we would have 10 meals for the Santa Clarita crew, 10 meals from our Orange County crew, and then majority of them were in the San Gabriel Valley. So we would just make deliveries accordingly. So that's kind of how we started. And so, I did drive a lot. It still was a lot of driving. It was crazy. And I have a really big truck. So the gas prices the gas mileage wasn't really great. So, but that was the investment. That was the learning, and, being that it's kind of like our friends and family and that we're not charging them. They gave us donations, right? But there was kind of like this level of like, okay, it doesn't need to be perfect. Obviously we want it to be perfect, but we're still learning things. We're still kind of perfecting the recipes and stuff like that. So like I wouldn't feel comfortable charging someone if it's not perfect, kind of scenario. And so through that introduction, we ended up feeding the director for Smorgasburg. He loves Indian food. He loves Mexican food. And just the combination of the two, he really felt like there was something behind it. We just had no idea what that would look like for a menu, right? And then
you guys don't even have a menu at this point.
No, because essentially we were just selling a meal, which was a whole chicken. So you get to choose the Mexican or the Indian whole chicken, and then our 4 sides. So it was the cauliflower, the mom's beans, and then we had Mayakoba beans because the mom's beans has pork in it. So if you don't eat pork, we had another safe kind of, and then we had our rice. And so you would get that as a meal with our sauces and tortillas. And even from the beginning, we use mejorado tortillas. Early on in my kind of like my quest to just be a sponge and gather information, I met the owner of Burritos Las Palmas. Alberto gave me almost 3 hours of his time. And again, I had no idea what I was asking and no idea what I was looking for, but just really understanding what his path was and how they've done it, and he also kind of opened my eyes to, if you're doing this to chase money, you're in the wrong industry. There's other businesses that have a greater return on investment than a restaurant. And he's like, but if you really truly are passionate about what you're doing, it'll come, but it's going to take a lot of work. And so with that, and even with Eduardo, who's his partner in Mejorado, our focus with Saucy Chick was to provide good, clean ingredients, no antibiotics, no preservatives. It's fresh, because they have that similar commitment, and their food is amazing. And so I'm honored to be able to, have that in our restaurant. And so, there's no point. Are there other options, cheaper options? For sure, but you can't mess with quality.
Sure.
And so through that, we had figured out a menu. So we finally figured out a menu, and so we got invited to Smorgasburg to participate. And here's the balance, right? So they reopened on the July 4th weekend. We had scheduled a big family reunion in Costa Rica. We actually declined to go to pursue this. Wow. So there was a lot of sacrifice with family. There was a lot of things that we did to really pursue this.
What was the experience like at Smorgasburg? What was like the wildest learning
First
point there?
day, like I brought everything and the kitchen counter, and my dad owns a business in Monterey Park, and so he has a delivery truck. It's a big bobtail truck, and like just because I didn't know, like I just thought like that's what everybody uses, and so I had all our stuff just thrown in the back of the bobtail, and it was just like unnecessary. And so our first day, I literally was in tears because like we had no clue what we were doing. The crew that we had also were new, had no clue what they're doing. There's like internal fights and like figuring stuff out, and it was opening day, so there was so many people, and because we didn't know, we brought so much food that most everybody sold out like within 2-3 hours, right? So we're kind of like the last stall standing with food still, so our line never stopped. So the whole day, so it was just constant.
Wow.
And so for that being like our first like event, like it was insane. Like it was like I legit cried. Like I was just like overwhelmed and but as you do the next one and the next one, it's like, oh, I don't need half the stuff that I brought. It's like you kind of fine tune the operations piece, and anyone can give you, oh, this is how we did it. You're still gonna overthink things. You're still gonna figure out, but you really, as the more times you do it, you see how to kind of streamline things and make things easier. And so after the third year, I mean, I could do that with my eyes closed, set it up, break it down, execute it. And so, yeah.
How did you guys finally get the location that you're at now?
While we're still at Smorgasburg and we're still doing kind of online ordering, so people could order from it just to pick up or through our delivery apps. So we were in a ghost kitchen. I was just getting exhausted. And
doing Smorgasburg, and we did also other special events. We did a lot of events for the Huntington Library, car shows, whatever you can get, different opportunities. And it's just the pop-up life it's pretty taxing, and I won't say like we killed it every time, but we did okay. And so if we were killing it, I'd be able to hire more people or bring on for help and so forth. That never really happened, and so it was just always a grind. My wife, because she actually had back surgery when we were starting this, I'm not going to let her lift anything. And so the majority of the burden of the physical stuff I took on. And so, I'm not getting any younger. I'm going to be 50 this year. And so it definitely takes its toll on the body. And so I just told my wife, I go, look, if we're not going to, in 2023, going into 2023, if we're not going to do a brick and mortar, we're going to call it. So through that, I had talked to a friend of ours, Eduardo from Mejorado, and he connected me to a gentleman who had a space that they closed, but they're still paying rent on in Beverly Grove. And so through that, I was able to not have to pay, just as a pop-up, not have to pay any key money, anything like that you would need typically to open up a restaurant. So we kind of just set it up as, hey, we're just getting our feet wet. Let's see if we even like this. Not to say it wasn't expensive. It was expensive, but you got to learn somehow, right? And so we made that commitment for about 7 months. So we're there in Beverly Grove for about 7 months. Ultimately, just didn't pan out. It wasn't the right area, the location. There wasn't really parking. There was a lot of factors that just didn't fit for us. And so we decided to close it simultaneously as kind of that was happening. The space that we're in now opened up for lease. And so, I live in Temple City. I drive Rosemead Boulevard every day, basically. And so I was just like, okay, what can I do? The other fear is that like we don't have years of experience
we don't have as a restaurant alone, right? Is someone going to take a chance on us to give us that opportunity? And just the way things were set up, we met the owners of the building, and they came to eat our food. They loved the food. They loved the story, and gave us an opportunity. And so that, I mean, that in itself is just amazing, right? I mean, that doesn't happen all the time.
Sure.
And so being able to have those opportunities come at you like that, it's you don't take it for granted, you know.
Sure.
And so with that, like, it just kind of gave us more confidence that people see something in us, see something in the concept. We just gotta nail it and execute it properly. So
yeah. Well, congratulations on making it to Rosemead Boulevard.
Yeah.
We have to move on for time constraints with the show. But before that, though, take me through. Like, I'm brand new. I'm in your restaurant. What are the items I should hit? What are the recommendations?
Yeah, I mean, I will say LA, and this is the interesting thing is, as you learn the psychology of food, right, amongst people, and kind of patterns and what people really gravitate towards. LA is a taco town. People love our tacos. And so we kind of really took on a mission to present our version of that, and how it represents both us, my wife and I, and having it kind of with the foundation of our traditional, but with the twist of the Mexican and Indian fusion, where it still carries the uniqueness factor, but it's still delicious. And that's kind of like, if it's on the menu, it's because we've done extensive, R&D to really make sure it's delicious. The hardest question I get is what's good on our menu, because I feel like everything on our menu is delicious, because I think it started with a concept of like what we wanted to put out was delicious. And so we just launched our sliders. Our tacos do really well. I mean, we don't have to do much with that. But I mean, everything, it really kind of comes down to you as the consumer, how you like to eat things. Whether it's a bowl, the bone-in chicken, burritos, nachos. So it's kind of a little bit set up for each type of personality that people kind of gravitate towards. And so it's kind of...
So it's however you want to consume the rotisserie chicken, a whole chicken, taco, or something like that. Like, you can, the flavors are all there.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I had the half chicken. Is that something that you guys do?
We have 3 chickens. So we have the PBL, the Jira, and the Ombly. Ombly is our smoked chicken.
I think they offered me to have a combination.
Yeah, and you could do a duo. If you do a half or a whole, you can do a duo where you get a half or a quarter of each chicken. Yeah. So for a lot of new timers, they get a little bit of experience of the full picture. So
not sparring again. Well, Marcel, we're going to move on to the final segment of the show called the SGV3, and we're going to get to learn more about what you like in the San Gabriel Valley. So, Marcel, this is the SGV3, and so please share with us your favorite places to eat.
Here's what I will say. Now that I have a restaurant, I pretty much eat at my restaurant. But for those opportunities that we got to go out to eat, there's some restaurants that I really kind of are my go-tos that I just know consistently. Growing up, Friday nights was our pizza night. And so in Hacienda Heights, there's a place called World's Best Pizza. I will always proclaim they're the world's best pizza. I'm sure there's a lot of outside views of what it is. It's just that's been a family-owned restaurant since I was a kid, and we still go there pretty often when we have anything happening there. But also, I do enjoy in Temple City. There's Petrillo's Pizzeria. And then there's Tony's in San Marino. And
Tony's by San Marino High School?
Yeah.
Okay. I've never been there, but I've seen it like my whole life.
It's really good. And it's one of those things where it's, again, family owned. Even Petrillo's family owned. there's just you can see the consistency and the commitment to good ingredients. And when you find that, it's like you can't, walk away.
Wait, are those your three pizza places?
No.
Okay.
That's why I was really battling, because those are, it's like each category, like I have like my spots, right?
Okay, so world's greatest pizza or world's best pizza. World's best pizza.
Yeah, at Hacienda Heights, yeah. I love pho and Vietnamese food in general. And so there's a spot that I was introduced to in City of Industry. It's called Pho 79. It's kind of right next to a strip joint close by, but just bare bones. And I love, this is what I actually kind of have envisioned for my restaurant. Hole in the wall, no frills, right? Just basic like tables, chairs, but the food is amazing. And that, like, every time I don't get to eat there as often as I like, but it's just something that, and I'm not going to say like I'm a pho connoisseur. I mean, I'm sure everybody has their opinion. It's just, for me, that was always where I went when I worked around that area, and growing up there is where I would go, and it just never fails. The food is delicious. The service, you kind of like, it's hit and miss, but that's, for me, that's part of the experience, right?
What kind of pho do you get, or do you get like the standard
beef? I actually like the vermicelli noodle dish as well, so I kind of fluctuate between those two, just kind of change it up a little bit. Egg rolls are amazing, and then there's Golden Deli by my house, that's really good too. So if I have a chance, coming home late or whatever, I'll stop by for that. As far as sushi, it's Akami Sushi in Arcadia.
Akami.
Yeah. And, I kind of feel like every kind of food, like, there's levels, right? So obviously for sushi, you have your Nobu, you have your kind of all you can eat type, and then you have the kind of right in the middle. And a lot of times where we go is just based on our budget, and so what we can afford, and if we take our son with us because he can eat, so we're like, okay, we'll go on the budget side, and then but for us, Akami, again, it's how the simple ingredients, it's clean, it's delicious. So,
do you remember this when your child like used to be full off of like just little bits of your food, and then one day they're like full on entree?
Yeah, we messed up in introducing sushi to him so early, in that effort to kind of expand his palate, but because it is expensive, and they eat like a garbage disposal, so it's just like, yeah, we won't come here again, kind of thing. So he likes to explore on the food side as well. So
awesome. Marcel, thank you so much for coming here today and sharing your story with us and our audience. If people want to come check out your food or find you online, what's the best way to do that?
We have our website. It's eatatsaucychick.com. Our Instagram is Saucychick Eatery, and you can look us up on Google, Yelp, place an order, you can call us, whatever.
Well, Marcel, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Russell. Appreciate you.
There you go. Another episode in the books. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know I sure did. Whenever we're talking about food, I particularly am interested in sort of the journey of how not just the items or the menu items came about, but how did this restaurant come about? To hear it born out of COVID and then moving in that direction and all the things to overcome to actually get it to where they are today is clear. Like, there's this path of, I'm going to figure out the way no matter what. That's how you can really tell someone is invested, right? Versus a person who comes up against an obstacle and then they're just defeated or they don't see the way, right? You either always find a way or you can't see the way at all. So that's what I heard in Marcel's journey. If you're facing an obstacle, maybe ask yourself that question: is that what you really want, or maybe you don't want it so much, right? Because I always find the people who really want it, they always find a way. So thank you for listening and for being here with us. If you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing. Don't forget to like and share. If you want to see more of our episodes, check out our website, myhgv.net. And until next week, we'll see you then. Thank you for joining us on the MySGV podcast. Check out more of our content on our website, mysgv.net. This show was produced by Scott Wormuth, directed by Russell Mano, edited by Victoria Allers, and original music by Yone OG. If you'd like to join us next week as we capture and share more stories from our diverse community, feel welcome.
Nice mother. No, kind of mother.